front of you.
Wait, you can get UTIs from hormone changes?
Yes, absolutely. And it's so common. And in fact,
Really?
that so any kind of hormone fluctuation that happens in your body will affect your genital and urinary health. And so when you play with hormones, there are consequences, sometimes good and sometimes bad. So people who are on birth control pills can sometimes get an increased risk of UTIs. People who are breastfeeding, people who are on hormone therapies in breast cancer, so endocrine therapies, anastrozole, tamoxifen, those types of things, perimenopause and menopause can increase your risk of UTIs drastically. Okay, this is an issue called the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM. Now, it's not just menopause, even though it's called GSM, menopause, and with vaginal hormones. So if you microdose hormones into the vagina, it fixes your bladder microbiome, it fixes your vaginal microbiome, and it prevents UTIs so massively that our research team of medical students published that we could save Medicare between $6 and $22 billion a year.
I don't even know how to interview you because my mouth is on the floor right now. I just want to make sure I got that. So any kind of hormone fluctuation or hormone change or taking hormones. So whether you're talking about somebody in their teens or 20s on birth control or breastfeeding, or somebody taking hormone replacement therapy, or on and on and on, can have an impact on getting more frequent UTIs. And one treatment is vaginal hormones, which is wildly effective
and safe
and doesn't destroy your gut lining the way antibiotics do when you're taking them over and over and over again, is the only thing.
Yes.
Oh my God, I've never heard this before.
So it's really important. Like, the biggest PSA, a public service announcement that we need, is to get this in the ears of every human on earth, because women are dying. You and your family members are at risk of dying or being in the hospital or missing your children's events because you're going to urgent care for antibiotics for the 10th time. You stop having sex because every time you have sex, you get a urinary tract infection. Most of those problems, not every problem, but majority of those problems are due to hormone fluctuations that are changing the microbiome of the vagina and the bladder. And it can be treated for every aged person, for every person with every medical problem, with a microdosed amount of hormone that is safe for your great-grandmother in the nursing home, and you can take for life, and can cost you as little as $7 a month. And we can go through all of the options, because the most important thing is for your family members to hear this. And we advocated for about 7 years. We advocated for the American Urologic Association to publish guidelines on this exact topic. And so we published those guidelines in 2025. It's my proudest achievement. And in those guidelines, it talks about these symptoms of, the hormonal shifts that happen not just in menopause, but in breastfeeding, in breast cancer, in birth control pills, in any type of hormonal type of medications, that using vaginal hormones, whether it's vaginal estrogen or vaginal DHEA, prevent urinary tract infections by more than half. But Mel, here's the crazy part. We've known about this since the 1990s. We've had products since the 1970s. And yet, why don't you and your listeners know this? No one ever taught your doctors this. No one ever talked about it publicly, because the two dirtiest words in the English language are vagina and estrogen. And so because we can't say those words, no one is prescribing this. And again, because we decided that all women's health goes to gynecology, right? No other doctor needs to know about women's stuff, because you just go to your gynecologist. And I'll be honest, your gynecologist is busy doing life-saving work for pregnant women, for women with cancer, that this is not their top priority. But then women are dying of urinary tract infections. And so publishing these guidelines are a huge announcement of this is so important. And again, not to confuse everybody, and we can go over this in more detail, but up until this last year, there were warning labels on the vaginal hormone products. Okay. And all hormone products, in fact, there were false, incorrect warning labels that said these products cause stroke, blood clots, heart attacks, probable dementia, and you need to use with progesterone. None of those things are true. Not one of those statements is true. And so we've been advocating for changes of those labels for decades. We went to the FDA. We went back to the FDA. We wrote letters. We did all of this. But through grassroots advocacy through social media, through letter writing campaigns, through knocking on every door we could find. Last year, we got the FDA to announce that they removed the box labeling on vaginal hormone products. And not only that, to be able to stare down the FDA commissioner eye to eye. And I encourage everyone to watch my 5-minute testimony because I'm really proud of it. I got to look at the FDA commissioner and I said, your box label tried to kill my mother. And I told the whole story of how it tried to kill my mother. And that was in July of 2025. And then in November, we got to stand on stage at Health and Human Services and announce that they were removing the box label. That box labeling, your doctor, your family doctor, your gynecologist, your urologist, they would give you this medication. And then the ladies would take it home and they say, oh my God, this is scary. This says it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
And so now that those labels are officially off, it's game changing. And so the PSA becomes, we have to explain to people these medicines were always safe. Not only were they safe, they were life-saving medications. And the label was wrong. It was always wrong. And now we have to teach people how to use it, why to use it, how to write the prescriptions. And so I am sort of working nonstop at every angle, both through the FDA, to patients every day, to teach clinicians every day, because each arm of that is so important to save those lives.
Don't you think your home should be a reflection of who you are? Of course it should. That's why you need to know about our sponsor, Ashley. Ashley has styles that balance timeless appeal with modern trends that will help you bring your personal look home. In fact, I was looking at the Ashley website because I know you're going to go, well, Mel, what do you like? The Crystalland collection. It's a modern farmhouse look that feels warm and inviting, but it's still clean and elevated. I love clean and elevated. With beautiful light brown wood tones, black hardware accents, and the dining room table is super cool. It expands from 80 to 98 inches. It has this removable leaf. It seats up to 10 people. And if you look at the table, you can picture holiday dinners, family gatherings, friends, making all kinds of memories. And every Ashley piece is thoughtfully designed, built to last, so your home doesn't just look good, it works like it should. Plus, Ashley provides fast, reliable, white glove delivery right to your room of choice, making the entire process simple from start to finish. Visit your local Ashley store or head to ashley.com to find your style. I mean, I don't even know how to summarize what we're talking about because we're talking about hormones and sexual health and UTIs and just your health in general. And you were just explaining something I never knew, which is GSM and the fact that women of all ages get UTIs because of changes in hormones due to birth control, breastfeeding. Like we all thought this was due to sex. It's due to hormones and that there is a very safe and very accessible preventative treatment of just buying or a vaginal hormones that can help you prevent this.
It's truly old news that needs to get into all the new ears, right? This is not emerging science. This is not new science. This is life-saving medicine that we've known about since the 70s, that we've had in the New England Journal of Medicine in the 90s. And so the question is, why don't I know about this? And it's truly just marketing. It is marketing that nobody has told doctors this, that has told patients this, which is why we fought to get these guidelines created, because you cannot argue with guidelines by the American Urologic Association.
First of all, thank you for all of that work. And thank you for explaining that. And I want to be sure that we don't move on until we've completely unpacked this.
I love this conversation because it's happening already every single day because of not just me, but so many of my amazing colleagues on social media. They're yelling, they're screaming, and we are saying the same thing over and over and over again. Basic stuff. GSM, genitourinary syndrome of menopause, is what happens to the vagina, to the vulva, to the bladder, to the urethra, the tube that you pee through when hormones change. So like a plant needing water, The vagina needs hormones. Okay. So if we get really simple, you have babies, right? When you're changing it, you have daughters, correct? You
Yes.
probably remember when you used to change their diaper, it was teensy tiny. It didn't look like grown up genitals. It looks
Yes.
like baby genitals,
Yes.
right? That is no hormones. Okay. That's what happens when there's no hormones. It's very thin. It's very fragile.
Yes.
They pee their diaper all the time.
Oh,
It is, you put
yes.
that diaper cream. It's a visual. Anyone who's changed a diaper, they know this, right?
Yes.
And then puberty happens. Your kids stop letting you look down there, but puberty happens and there is a surge of hormones. You start changing. You get taller, you get breasts, you get meaner to your mother, but your genitals, they change, they transform. They respond to estrogen and testosterone. And so there are things that you can see with your eyeballs, like the labia start to grow, the clitoris grows, the area becomes pink. You can put tampons in, you can have sex, you can lubricate, you can orgasm. This is all because of hormones. And so again, when you play with hormones, there are consequences. So anything you do to manipulate hormones can change the health of this tissue. So when perimenopause happens, or other things like breastfeeding or birth control pills, or
So this GSM can affect a 20-year-old.
it can absolutely
if you're
affect,
on birth control.
absolutely.
Okay.
And so because the tissue responds to both estrogen and testosterone, any changes to estrogen and testosterone can affect this tissue. So without those hormones, or with a significant change to those hormones, or a fluctuation of hormones, then the tissue can start changing the way that it looks, but it can also start changing the way that it feels. So you see your pH start to change. So the tissue, which wants to be acidic, the vagina wants to be acidic so it can fight infection. The acid fights infection, keeps you safe, keeps everything as a healthy microbiome. You start to lose that acidity. The pH starts to rise. Bad bacteria start to grow. The good bacteria start to shrink. You can see dryness, thinning. Maybe it cracks and bleeds. It starts to hurt. Sex becomes painful. Orgasm gets more difficult. Arousal, you don't feel that same blood flow. You can see the labia minora, those inner wings, can start to disappear, actually, because women don't know that their genitals are changing in response to changing hormones. But there's so much hope, because with microdosing small amounts of vaginal hormones, you can prevent all of this and cure this problem. This isn't like a little bit of lubricant that helps it be more slippery. This is fixing the pH, fixing the microbiome, fighting infections, preventing UTIs, making sex not painful, helping with your natural lubrication. And it is not expensive, often covered by your insurance, and prevents urinary tract infections by more than half. So it doesn't even matter if you're sexually active or not. And by the way, it's not just urinary tract infections, it's frequency, it's urgency, it's leakage.
Wait, what do hormones have to do with frequency, urgency, and leakage?
Because the whole environment, when it has hormones, it's less twitchy, it's less irritated. It is the response to the dryness, the thinness, this irritation, where your bladder's just like, oh, I don't feel, I'm not feeling great. I'm not feeling my best self right now. And so the hormones fix the bladder as well. And so it is truly, it's so wild how simple and easy